If you are looking for a great bag pattern, the dog again. Is this on? Oh god, so many wires. Oh no, it's not straight. Can you hear me? Oh, it's a plane. If you are looking for a great bag pattern, then this is the KISMET by KMG Handmade, and it has some great features. Hi, I'm Emma from Studio 77, and on this bag tutorial, I'm going to take you through this great little bag. It comes with some amazing features, like I say. So first of all, you've of course got the main pouch. Inside, you've got your card slots, you've obviously got your main pocket in the bag, and then on the front you've got a great little hidden pocket which is fantastic for keeping your phone, or, and this is what's really cool and what attracted me to this bag, is I thought you could keep dog bags in there, you know, boot bags for really easy access. You could also keep your dog treats in there, or you could mix it up and put them in the middle. It's a great little pouch because it's also on the back got this really nice feature. You can have featured fabrics, or you can do it all in one. And you've got a little hand strap. You can have it as a wristlet, or you can have it as a crossbody bag. I love a crossbody bag, so I'm going to show you how to make that one today. It's just a really nice pattern. It goes together really nicely. And if you keep watching to the end, I'm going to tell you about a great coupon to get some money off this pattern today. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need to do is, of course, cut out all your pieces. I'll go through the individual pieces in a sec, but you're also going to need an 8-inch zipper and a zipper pull. You're going to need 2 half-inch swivel hooks, a 1/2-inch slider, and that is if you're doing the crossbody version. You're going to need 2 1/2-inch D-rings, of course thread to match your feature fabric, a friction pen or your choice for marking your fabric, and then you're going to need some rivets, some 1/2-inch bias binding. I make my own, but you can of course use pre-bought. And then you need your pattern pieces. Now I wanted to go through these as it can be a little bit confusing. So I just wanted to go over the top panels first. This piece here, the front panel piece A and B, and obviously you need to take them together. Now the great thing about this pattern is she has also got all the measurements, so you don't have to print everything out. I quite like to, because then you can pin all the pieces together and know where you are. So you need to cut one exterior and one interior, and what that means is the interior is literally the underneath of that front flap. So hopefully this is going to make sense when I show you. So for mine, I wanted to have a contrasting front panel. So I've obviously got my cotton at the top, and then I've got my vinyl. Also, I'm just going to add as well that you want to interface this with Decaville Light underneath. If you are using a cotton, vinyl is fine. You don't have to interface, but you can if you want. So you want to cut out, it tells you on the pattern to cut out 2 rectangles, and that is literally, it's going to go like this. So my interior, or my underneath of the flap, which is barely going to be seen, I've got this pink. So I just wanted to show you, because if you were going to do the outside in the one fabric, one colorway, then you would take your pattern piece, choose whether you want to have a right flap or a left flap, and she has shown you in the pattern the left sided, and I'm going to show you the right sided. So I want right, so I'm going to go from that notch to that notch, and I've folded, and that is going to give me my top piece like so. So that means that you don't have to cut out 2 different rectangles if you want the contrast on the front. So then I've simply drawn around that and cut that out. And then for the bottom, I've done the opposite. If you were going to do the left-handed version, you would fold the other way. So now I've done that, I also need to then, with the wrong sides together, I'm going to cut along that line so that it's the same. So that then makes your 2 flaps for the front. And then you also need to cut 2 of this pattern, and you're going to have a front lining panel and front pocket lining panel. So what that means is you're going to have one lining which literally goes underneath that flap, because obviously that flap's going to open. So that is going to be the interior of that kind of front pocket. So again, I've gone for the pink and I've interfaced that with Decaville as well. You want to keep the interfacing inside the seams, especially if you're using a domestic. All the pattern seam allowances are 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimetre. So I've just chopped that off the pattern piece and fused that to the back. And then I've got my interior pocket lining, and again I've used the same quilting cotton and I've lined that with a woven interfacing. So that when it's put together will go like that. So you've got your inside of the bag, your inside of the front pocket, and then your outer parts of the pocket. So coming to the back pieces, you've got these separate panels. If you wanted to, you could cut another one of these and then you could have just the plain back, but I quite like this feature. It's really nice because it kind of gives that kind of stripe effect, and as you can see I've gone for the quilting cotton and then vinyl. Again, you don't need to interface the vinyl, but you do need to interface the quilting cotton with a Decaville light. If I was doing it all in quilting cotton, I would interface after I've pieced these pieces together. It's going to make it a bit nicer, but because I'm not, I am interfacing them separately. Then of course you need to cut out your strap, whether you're doing the crossbody or the wristlet. You need to cut out the hand strap for the back. You've got your zipper, you've got your 1/2 inch swivel hooks, 1/2 inch slider, that is if you're doing the crossbody version. You need your 1/2 inch D-rings, some 8mm rivets, and we also need to cut out our card slot panel, and I've just used quilting cotton, you don't need to interface that, and then your sides of your card slots, and again I've used quilting cotton and I've interfaced that with woven on the back as well. You're also going to need a credit card or a gift card like I've got here, and that is for when we're making our card slots. And then finally you're going to need to cut out your zipper tabs, and they are interfaced with woven as well. So the first thing we need to do is the card slot panel, and we need to place our fabric right side up. Then we need to make a mark 1 inch from the edge. We're going to place our card along that edge with the short side facing the edge of the fabric, and then you want to fold the fabric so that it's butted against the edge of the gift card, and fold it up so that just 1/4 of an inch is showing at the top. And then we're going to put a pin in. Take the card out and repeat the process. 1/4 of an inch from that edge, fold it over, and repeat for the last section. Then I'm going to slide the card out and I'm going to press that so it's all nice and flat. So when you've pressed it, you should have a piece which measures 7 by 5.5 inches, and then there's 1/2 inch between each fold. Now we need to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch along each of those folds, separate folds. Okay, so now those card slots are top stitched. You want to choose whether you're going to have the top one as a slip pocket and then the next 2 as card slots, or if you want the 3 as card slots. So I'm going to have the top as a slip pocket. So then you need to open it up so that you keep that clear. So once you've pulled that open, we need to find the middle. So obviously it's 7.5, so it's going to be 3 3/4 is our middle point. And then we need to mark for where we want our cards to go. Now an average card is around 2 inches wide, so we want to make it a smidge over an inch each side of that line. So I'm going to go for there and I'm going to go for there. and then we need to sew along those lines. Now you can use a really nice decorative stitch if you want to, or you can just do a straight stitch. So to finish off the card slot panel, we need to take the two side pieces, place them right sides together, make sure they match. And then we're going to sew that in place using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I've stitched that, and then I've pressed it with the seam allowance going towards those side panels, and then I'm going to top stitch with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So now we've done our card slots, we're going to move on to doing the front panel. So we just need those kind of weird shapes that we cut before, and we need to place them wrong sides together. Then we need the bias binding, and we're just going to attach our bias binding, and we want to make it so that there's a little bit of an overhang each end. Clip that together. Same on the bottom one. And then we're going to sew with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance along that edge. So then we just need to chop off those so that they are flush with the edge, bias binding. And then we're going to lay the bottom piece of the flap on top of the interior of the pocket. And then we're going to lay the other piece over the top. Now it should be so that the bindings kind of butt up against each other to make an overlap of about 1 inch going across. Then what we're going to do is we're going to baste all the way around the edge, 1/4 of an inch, using the longest stitch on the machine. So I've basted around the edge. Now she recommends that you put a rivet in 1 inch in from each edge. If you don't have rivets, there is the option as well to place a small piece of Velcro in the middle, just to make sure that it's really secure. You don't want your phone falling out or whatever you're keeping in there, you don't want that to fall out. So I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 rivets, 1 inch in from each edge. Moving on to the back pieces, and the pieces are numbered, which is why I quite like to print off these pieces especially. Now if you were just doing a plain back, then of course you're going to skip this step, but we're going to lay them out so that they're all in the right place. So we need to take our central panel and we need to put them right sides together, clip them in place, and then we're going to sew along that edge using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Once we've done that, I'm just going to finger press that open, and we're going to do the same going along, and we're moving all the way along that way, and then we're going to pick up and go all the way along that way. So now that I've pasted all those panel pieces together, we're then going to top stitch down 1/8 of an inch. Now how I'm going to do it, because I quite like the look, because I've got the vinyl in the middle, is that I'm going to put the seam allowance going towards my vinyl pieces, and then I'm going to top stitch down on top of that vinyl, just because I think that's going to give it a nicer look. So now we need to make that strap that goes along that back panel. So using double-sided tape. Okay, huge apology. I had a bit of a tech fail on this bit and it didn't record. However, it's the same technique as any strap. You need to mark a line down the centre and place double-sided tape. Fold each side into the middle line just drawn and stitch 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Make the wrist strap or crossbody strap in the same way, but once folded into the middle, fold it over again before stitching 1/8 of an inch from the edge, making a 1/2 inch strap. I'm so sorry for messing this bit up. Back to the tutorial. So I've top stitched my crossbody strap, and obviously if you were going to do your wrist strap you would do that, and I've top stitched that hand strap that goes across the back. So we want to place our D-rings through the end of the wrist strap, and we want to do it so that the raw edge of that underneath of the strap is in line with the edge of this panel. And then you'll find that the edge lines up with that stitch line there on the other side of that same panel. Then we need to make sure that it's 1 inch down, like so, and then we're going to stitch that to the back panel using a zipper foot to get as close as we can to that D-ring, and we're going to do a box going around like that. What I'm going to do to keep that in place is just put a little bit of double-sided underneath. I'm going to take it off when I'm done. So I've stitched that back wrist strap on, and I'm just going to remove that double-sided tape that I did earlier. And then I'm going to pop 2 rivets in there just to complete the look and make it really nice and secure. Next, we need to add our zipper tabs to the end of our zipper. So I've put the zipper pull onto my zipper. Then I need to sew 3/8 of an inch from each edge. Then you need to fold it back around, tuck it under by 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to top stitch that down. So then we need to attach the zipper to the front pocket, the front panel. So we're going to find the middle, and we're going to find the middle of the panel and the middle of the zipper. So the middle of the panel is there. So I'm going to baste that together on the machine, making sure to move the zipper out the way so that we get a nice straight stitch. Then we're going to take our interior panel and we're going to place it right sides down, and then we're going to stitch 3/8 of an inch along that edge. Then I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch along that edge. Okay, so I've top stitched that down. Then we need to grab our back panel, and we're going to have that facing up. Place our front panel facing down, and we're going to clip that zip along that top. And then we're going to baste on the machine to keep that together. So now we've basted that together, we then need to grab our card slot that we made earlier, and we're going to place that right sides facing, and we're going to stitch along that edge with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so then what we need to do is we are going to pull back that card slot section, and we're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch from that edge, just like we did before. Okay, so now we've top stitched along that back panel. We then need to attach the bag together. So we need to place the exterior pieces together and the interior pieces together. Before we do this next step, it's really important that you open your zip. Don't forget to do that. We're going to clip all the way around the edge. Just want to really make sure that all those pieces are nicely lined up. So after clipping it, I've then stitched all the way around, and I've started each side of the centre of the lining section, because that is where we're going to birth our bag. So you want to back stitch, start here, and we've done 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, going all the way around, decreasing to 3/8 as we hit that outer panel, going around, and then we've finished back at the top there. Once I stitched it, I've clipped those corners, all 4 corners. Whoops, I missed that one. And then I also cut off my seam allowance so that I've got just under 1/4 of an inch seam allowance left. Then we want to open that lining hole that we've left, grab the corners and pull it through to birth the bag. Now this is always the kind of tricksy bit. One thing I should add as well is that when you do that stitch around the edge, you also should do a second line of stitching if you're using vinyl like I have. I've done it all the way around, even though some parts are not vinyl, just to get that really nice tight stitch look so that it doesn't pull apart. Okay, so once that's all nice and flat, we're going to reach through, pull our lining out, and we're just going to stitch that closed. So to complete the strap for the crossbody version, we need to feed one end through the middle of the slider and we're going to stitch a rectangle to secure that in place. But I'm also going to pin the other one so it's ready. So we want to make sure that you're keeping the same side up, so that I know that I've got my raw edge up on this one, and I've made sure that that's the same. Going along, thread through my other clip, and then we're going to go back through the swivel clip, through the other side. Give myself a little bit of space, and then I'm going to go through the other clip and back round, and we're going to do another rectangle to secure that in place. I loved making this little bag, and I hope you enjoy making it too. I think it's a really versatile pattern. Use the coupon code that's in the description box below for a great deal. I really hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, why not share it with your bag making friends? Don't forget to share your creations with me by tagging @Studio77 on your social media. Coming up on the screen right now are some more tutorials that I think you're going to love. It does kind of sound like a jungle. And a massive bee. Why did I think filming outside would be a good idea?